Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. Our topic today is the need to reset pay and status of India's defense forces. It is a much debated, much discussed subject for which we have the pleasure of inviting Lieutenant General Kapil Aggarwal, retired. He was commissioned into the Electronics and Mechanical Engineering Corps and rose to be the Director General of the same, an electronics engineer from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. He is a fellow of the Institution of Electronics, Telecommunications Engineering. He is also an advisor to the United Public Service Commission. But most relevantly for us is that he was chosen to chair the Army Pay Cell and had, worked under, God bless his soul, former Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar, who I think the entire armed forces will never forget for implementing the one rank, one pension. General Aggarwal, I have a few questions, but I think best is you give your brief comment, and otherwise I can start with the question straight away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to you. And it's a great pleasure interacting with you on this platform of South Asia Monitor. And you've chosen a very good topic for discussion in this season of the 8th Central Pay Commission, when the minds are all engrossed with pay and allowance matters. Now, I will like to point out that although the pay matters are, sometimes they get very emotionally surcharged, especially amongst the Fauji fraternity. However, they are much misunderstood. So my endeavor today would be to simplify things, declutter them, and suggest suitable solutions.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll start that the very first question is that the degradation of status of the service. For instance, a joint secretary in the civil services is a rank which is attained in 14 years. And the rank in the armed forces, which is equated to it, Major General and equivalent, is attained after over 30 years. I think it's, and not only that, it's the army and other service officers become a colonel in, it's proportionately, this is just an example, but it affects, I think, all ranks of the army. Would you please elaborate?
Sir, yes, sir. Sir, what you have said about the status equations, I think this is the single biggest issue which disturbs the peace of mind of the serving officers as well as the retired fraternity. Now, before I comment on the issue, I'll bring out that there could be, what could be the determinants of status amongst the various services. First is the Warrant of Precedence 1979, which has got about 26 serials there, and which places a Major General and Joint Secretary in the same serial, that is serial 26. Now, officially, this Warrant of Precedence is meant only for ceremonial purposes and not for determining seniority amongst the government services. That is the de jure position. But de facto, we all are aware that what is happening. The second determinant is the grade pay, which was started by the sixth pay commission and which was termed as level by the seventh CPC. So this grade pay or level is another determinant of inter se seniority or inter se status. The third is the length of service, which you just spoke of, that a Major General becomes a Major General in 30 years of service, while a Joint Secretary may become a Joint Secretary in 18 years of service. So length of service, but the question is whether the length of service of a commissioned officer can be equated to the length of service to a Group A, organized Group A officer or an All India Service officer. Now, this is a contentious issue. So I will leave it at that. The last major determinant of seniority is the span of responsibility. Now, what is the span of responsibility of various ranks and appointments is again a subjective issue. So again, we can't really start arguing and debating on this. But the perception that there has been a degradation of status is all prevalent in Fauji fraternity and not without reason. I will illustrate this with a episode in brief, which will bring out what is the malaise affecting the three services. Many of you may be aware, and many of your viewers may also be aware, in 2016, a letter was taken out by a civilian office saying, giving the equivalence, status equivalence between AFHQ cadre service and the defense services officers, and which said that a joint director is equivalent to a brigadier. Now, when this letter was promulgated in October 2016, there was a large hue and cry amongst all the three services, and because of which the then Raksha Mantri constituted a committee to examine the issue, a three-member committee. So I was representing the three services in that committee, and when I did my little bit of research work, I found that AFHQ cadre is actually meant to be a support service to the defense officers in Army headquarters. Just like IFS has got a support service, IFSB, the other, the All India services and organized Group A services have got a central secretariat service as a support cadre. And I found there is no equivalence drawn between the parent cadre and the support cadre anywhere. So this was quite hilarious that somebody is trying to draw equivalence between the defense services officers and AFHQ cadre, which is actually a Group B service. So further I found that the body which is actually tasked with determining any functional equivalence is the PPOC. PPOC is the Principal Personnel Officers Committee of the three services, where AG and AG equivalent officers of the three services are there. It is their charter. And now what happens is that we in the defense forces are all focused on operational matters or combat readiness, and rightly so. Pay matters and status matters are not really the focus areas, again rightly so. But what happens is that somebody else takes advantage of this and tries and draws equations when they do not even have the mandate to draw any equation. It was the mandate of PPOC. So when I brought out these things in front of the committee, immediately it was agreed that there is no need to draw equivalences, and the letter which was issued by that civilian office was withdrawn, and the matter rested there. So this is just an illustration of how the problems arise. Now, Now, one more thing, to the status equivalences, drawing status equivalences between the organized group A services, All India services, and defense forces is a very complicated issue. That is why the Prime Minister in 2008 ordered a constitution of a high-powered committee to determine the status equivalence. But that committee has never been constituted till date. Now, coming to, in very brief, my suggested solution to the whole imbroglio of status equation. In fact, we had, after approval of the Chiefs of Staff Committee, submitted this as a proposal to the 7th CPC, and the 7th CPC did not comment on it at all. The proposal was very simple: delink the grade pay from ranks and link it to the length of service. Very simple solution. Just like in civil pay matrix, you have the grade pay progression at 4 years of service, 9 years of service, 13 years of service. Similarly, in army, in 4 years, let's say an officer gets to the grade pay of 6,600 rupees. In 9 years, he gets to a grade pay of 7,600 rupees. In 13 years, which is a lieutenant colonel, he gets to a grade pay of 8,700 rupees. It is pertinent to note that right now, lieutenant colonel is in grade pay of 8,000. And similarly, at 20 years, you can get a grade pay of SAG, which is grade pay of 10,000. The very simple and neat solution, which would sort out all the perceived problems of status and meet the aspirations of the defense officers.
It was not considered.
It was not considered. It was not at all commented in the 7th CPC report. And I'll tell you the reason for it. Actually, again, this is a mistake which the services headquarters have been committing, pay commission after pay commission. These issues are actually sorted out between the two pay commissions. I'll give you examples of the Railway Board, the organized group A services, the IRS and others, upgrading their status and the grade pays between the pay commissions. Pay commissions does not, usually consider these matters. They are very reluctant to disturb any status parity. They are only focused on what should be the multiplication factor, what should be the new pay scale. They will rationalize some allowances and then submit the report. So actually, these matters are to be taken between the pay commission in the 10 years, intervening years. And this is where the services headquarters have been faulting, because we wind up the pay commissions and then we wake up only when the pay commission is constituted and make our submissions to the pay commission. And the pay commission will not touch these issues unless the government of India otherwise has already decided in its favor.
Thank you. Now there is one action which was taken just after independence. A very I think it was without it, mindlessly, the badges of rank worn by the army were made applicable to the police services. And here again become, there's a great, the amount of difference of time that the police officers use a particular rank in half the time that the army army, navy, air force officers attain that. Here again, and it is the rank badges of the police were never the same as those of the army. The navy's got stripes, the air force has stripes. The star and the Ashoka lion were never the same. In whatever it is, but and I don't think anything has been done to mitigate this or to resolve this issue.
Sir, I think the question is very valid. It creates a lot of confusion. But the reality is that these rank badges have been worn by the police since 1950, when they changed the crown to an Ashoka and chose that five-pointed star, silver star, and the Ashoka. And the senior ranks, they again chose the crossed sword and the baton in their rank epaulettes. Now, my submission is that instead of trying to change something which we have little control, let us do something which is within our domain, or which we can do with the appropriate approval at the appropriate level of government. What I can suggest is, like rank of brigadier. Right now, he wears the Ashoka with 3 stars. We can change this thing, Ashoka and a star, which is actually right now a major general is wearing. And a major general can be changed to an Ashoka and 2 stars without conflicting with any other army rank. So my solution is always, avoid conflict and these kind of uh, uh, confrontations, and instead find your own solutions. Let us sing our own song. Let us dance our own dance.
Actually, late former Army Chief General Arun Vaidya, he went in for a very major change of the color of the peak cap and certain other aspects of uniform to try to maintain the sort of uniqueness of, or the distinctive aspects of the, but that didn't, it hasn't really worked, because this is something which has to be resolved at a high level, and that there's look at the word Havaldar. It's been made a joke in every movie. A constable is referred to as a Havaldar by a person who's acting as a police officer. And anyway, we won't go into it because it's a now another major question. Why not the NFU? Why are only the defense forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force officers denied the NFU?
Right, so I think another major issue which is tormenting the minds of the Fauji fraternity, and we've been chasing this grant of non-functional financial upgrade, NFFU, in short NFU, right since 2008 without success. I, in fact, call it a marriage called NFU. It's a marriage. Okay. Now, the issue was taken up strongly with the 7th CPC also, strongly recommended by the Chiefs of Staff Committee. And the 7th CPC, the chairman, said in his report that he recommended grant of NFU to defense forces. The only member of the 7th CPC, Mr. Vivek Ray, he has written in his report, which is there in the 7th CPC report, that if anybody deserved NFU, it was the defense forces officers first. However, he disagreed with the concept and said that NFU should be discontinued for all. But if it has to be given, it should have been defense officers first. Now, with this background, again, nothing happened, and the NFU was not granted by the government. Now, before I comment further on the subject, I wish to clarify the concept of NFU, which is not understood well by an overwhelming majority of the officers. Now, NFU is meant to compensate for slower promotions, and defense forces have the slowest promotions. We know that. NFU is not meant to compensate for non-empanelment. So, if a lieutenant colonel doesn't become a colonel, or colonel doesn't become a brigadier, he does not get empaneled, then he will not get NFU. The implementation rules of the NFU, which are there in open domain for the civilians who are granted NFU, it says it is only a financial upgrade, and it will be given only to those officers who are holding the present rank or appointment in substantive rank. That means a lieutenant colonel can get an NFU upgrade to a colonel, but he cannot get an NFU upgrade to brigadier or a major general unless he gets promoted to the next rank, substantive rank of colonel. Similarly, a colonel can get an NFU for brigadier, but he will not get NFU for the rank of major general unless he becomes a brigadier, gets empaneled for the rank of brigadier. This is not understood by most people. And so they think that NFU is a panacea for all status problems. It is not. If tomorrow, let us say hypothetically, NFU is granted by the government to defense forces officers, then a lieutenant colonel will get maximum upgrade of 700 rupees. A colonel will get a maximum upgrade of 200 rupees, and a brigadier will get a maximum upgrade of 1100 rupees. It does not solve the status problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something which the officers have to understand. While we deserve NFU, NFU does not solve our problem. The problem can again be solved. I revert back to my solution, which I already gave you in the earlier question. Delink grade pay from ranks, link it to the length of service. And this proposal is to be progressed with the government, not with the pay commission. Pay commission again will leave it aside, it will not comment on it. It is to be progressed with the government. It should have been progressed over the last 10 years. I don't think it was, to the best of knowledge, I don't think it was done. And now, when the pay commission is constituted, again, this subject has become very hot, and we expect the pay commission to resolve it. I bet we will again be disappointed.
Thank you. Now, in a democracy, the defense services must be under civilian rule and not be dictated by the bureaucracy, which is what is happening.
That's very right, sir. It is in a democracy. It is supposed to be civilian control, which does not mean bureaucratic control. That is perfectly fine. But the way things are in reality are different, and the reasons we know are pretty well known. And one is, of course, the proximity of the bureaucracy to the political masters. The envy which they have towards the defense forces, and the public trust we enjoy. The defense forces are popular with the citizenry of India, and this is a factor of envy for the civilian bureaucracy. But having said this, I will also like to, whatever little I know, it is similar is the situation in most Western democracies also. The armed forces are not having that kind of clout. And as far as the envy factor is concerned, I can tell you, there was this military service pay, which was a success story of the 6th pay commission when it was first granted. This is a source of great envy to the civilians. I was asked by the chairman 7th CPC, I was asked by him, you have this military service pay, why shouldn't it be given to civilians? I said, fine, sir. I have no objection. Please give it in whatever form, call it civilian service pay. But we are talking of our own status issues, our own allowances issues, which must be resolved. We are not linking it with other civilian services.
And of the terms and the terms and the conditions that we serve in, the
Yes.
physical conditions that we
Yes,
serve in.
yes. And I tell you, the same thing was indirectly asked to me by the principal secretary in the Prime Minister's office. And he asked me in the presence of the Chiefs of Staff committee there. He said the same thing. He asked me, should we give to the civilians what you people have? In these words. And I knew what he's talking of. And I told him, yes, sir, we don't mind, but please resolve our pay and status issues. So that's a source of great envy. And so, like I said, the problem is the proximity of democracy to the political master. So what is the solution? My suggested solution, in fact, which I had submitted to the services headquarters before I demitted office, one was, one is the real integration of the services headquarters with the Ministry of Defense. Something which we've been talking since George Fernandez days in 1997-98. It has happened only on paper. It has not happened on ground. Secondly, these services must contribute officers to the central staffing scheme. There is a central staffing scheme wherein the organized group A services contribute their officers, whether officers of under secretary, deputy secretary, joint secretary, to this central staffing scheme, and wherein these officers are posted to, they may be belonging to any state cadre or anything, they are posted to various ministries. Now, if the services start subscribing to the scheme, then we will find our officers, let's say in the rank of lieutenant colonel and brigadier, 3 ranks, which we can, I can recommend that they should be posted in the various ministries. And ultimately, when we sponsor officers under the central staffing scheme for after obtaining government permission, we will have officers in the Central Pay Commission support staff also, which is the main, which nobody is realizing. That is what is hitting us. We do not have anybody in the Pay Commission support staff, which actually calls the shots. After all, what is the Pay Commission? There is one retired Supreme Court judge and only one member. Okay. So it is the support staff, the joint secretaries and the deputy secretaries sitting there who are actually doing this paid work. And it is there we need to have a representation. So that is the solution, which I had submitted to the service headquarters, but sadly nothing has happened.
Anyway, we're really tight for time. There's despite the Chief of Defence Staff being Secretary of Military Affairs, nothing is meaningfully changed. And finally, is there any way to really reset this, this dissimilarity or dissonance?
Sir, I think CDS is still a work in progress. There are so many things which can be done. Firstly, I'll like to draw your attention to the allocation of Business Rules 1961, according to which the defense of India is the responsibility of Department of Defense. It is not the responsibility of services headquarters or any chief. It is the responsibility of Department of Defense. And
Anyway,
who heads the department? Who heads the Department of Defense? It is the Defense Secretary. Even CDS is heading the Department of Military Affairs. He is not heading the Department of Defense. So still CDS is not responsible for defense of India, it is the defense secretary. And of course, the political responsibility rests with the Honorable Raksha Mantri. So, I feel CDS, firstly, he should have been a 5-star officer. Okay. Secondly, in the warrant of presidents should have been amended to put him equivalent to cabinet secretary, if not above him. The cabinet secretary today is 11th in the order of precedence as per the warrant of precedence, while the 3 chiefs are 12th. Cabinet secretary is 11th. At least place the CDS in the 11th order of precedence, and at least make him more responsible in some way for the defense of India. At least operationally define it. Operationally, he is responsible for defense of India.
I'll very reluctantly, but thank you very much, General Aggarwal, for a very important set of issues which you elaborated on, and well, all we can do is hope for a better future. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure talking with you.